So again, we are here with Rodney Roberts and Maureen Fine of SAVE-BARC, Stop the BEP. Rodney is going to speak today about the issue of the impact on Greenbelt in particular, and the historical and natural importance of the land and preservation of natural resources in Greenbelt. We are to give the background, Rodney is a member of the Greenbelt City Council, has also been an active environmentalist for many years, and he is joined by Maureen Fine, again, another environmental activist, grandmother, Bowie resident, and person who has been fighting strongly for citizen and natural rights for our county. So Rodney, would you please explain to us what are the issues from your point of view, and what are the concerns that people should know about in terms of the current activities proposed for the area?
Yeah, thank you for having me this morning. I appreciate it. I think the scariest thing that I've heard is the 120,000 gallons of wastewater that would go into the Beaver Dam Creek. When this started out, it was 60,000 gallons that Treasury claimed was going to get dumped in there. Now it's up to 120,000 gallons. That's just unbelievable. And at least 6,000 gallons of that they're saying is industrial waste, water, which it could be all kinds of heavy metals and chemicals and things that won't come out in a water treatment plant. But first, to start out, I give a little background to where I'm coming from. I, of course, grew up in Greenbelt, and really the interesting thing about Greenbelt that has always really interested me so much is that it wasn't built for profit. It wasn't about developers coming in, building the place, and making a bunch of money, and that's it. No, Greenbelt was built to actually provide a different and a higher quality of life, especially for people of lesser means, at a time when people were crammed into the cities and in tight spaces and everything. And the main idea was to allow people access to nature and to all kinds of recreation, from passive recreation all the way up to active recreation. And I grew up in an environment like that, and BARC, Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, our neighbor, was a big part of that, because that was a part of my playground in growing up. So I got to kind of expand my mind and use my imagination and enjoy all the natural resources out there and explore. And it was, really a good way to be raised. So starting about 35 years ago, originally Greenbelt had 800 acres of forest that surrounded the city. That was our Greenbelt for real. So about 35 years ago, developer came in and was going to develop the last 100 acres of that property. We had lost, pretty much all of our green belt. And so there's this large, 100-acre parcel left. They wanted to develop that. The Committee to Save the Greenbelt was formed by some people in Greenbelt, and I saw a little ad in the News Review, and I responded to that, and I became a part of the Committee to Save the Greenbelt. And we fought for many years. In fact, we're still fighting to save our Greenbelt, but it is now the Greenbelt Forest Preserve. So it has some status, and it is an important part of our community. And so right next door now, we have, I think the big problem is that it's not only the printing facility that Treasury wants to put on the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, but it's all the other projects that will go along with that. We have of course, the BEP that we've been talking about, and we have the maglev train that wants to go right through BARC and use a huge area of BARC as a maintenance yard. And that facility actually would cut right through the middle of our forest preserve in Greenbelt. So all the 30 years that we put in to save that property would be lost. It would have been just a worthless cause because it would cut right through the middle and there wouldn't be much left. And so we have that project, and then we have the proposal by the state of Maryland to widen the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, which again is cutting right through BARC and through the Greenbelt Forest Reserve. And then we have the widening of Kenilworth Avenue, which is on the other side, on the west side, kind of like in the center of BARC. And that project would actually encircle pretty much Greenbelt in highways, because over the years we've been bisected by highways. We have of course, the Parkway and the Beltway and Kenilworth Avenue, which is pretty wide there near the Beltway. So anyway, then we have that project, and I think that makes up the 5. I don't know if I left one out, but yeah, so we have 5 projects there that if they came to fruition, there wouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, Greenbelt would not exist anymore, because it would be just a paved over concrete place. And that's not what was intended for Greenbelt. And that's not the experience that I had growing up here. And that's not the experience that I want future generations of Greenbelters to be able to enjoy. So, and then you add in the other consideration of climate change, which is going on right now. The Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, which is about 6,000 acres, Patuxent Wildlife, which is about 10,000, and you have some properties from NASA that are pristine, undeveloped properties, some property from the Secret Service area. So all told, we have a little over 20,000 acres of forests and wetlands and all kinds of different habitats that are absolutely critical to controlling climate change, and especially in this area, because this is people don't realize this is the largest open area, green space, forested area on the eastern seaboard. From DC all the way to New York City, there is not another place like this. It's the largest area that is contiguous, all these properties together. And that is extremely important to protect ourselves from climate change. And if we can't save a place like this, then I don't know what we can save. And that's the scary part about it. So you go back to the BEP, and that's a facility that doesn't need to be there. That's not really something that we need to do for any good reason. It's not going to provide any new jobs. These are only existing jobs that would go from one place to another. Right now, at least 60% of the people that work at that facility in DC go there by public transportation, the metro system mostly. If they were to move to the Beltsville Ag Center, no one would take metro there because it's not available. There is no public transportation in that area. So everyone would drive to that facility. So yeah, those are the big problems. If we can't save this area, then not only do we lose these natural resources, but we lose the city of Greenbelt. That's the way I look at it. So thank you.